In a peaceful meadow surrounded by towering trees and colorful flowers, lived two friends, Ava the Ant and Giddy the Grasshopper. Though they were as different as night and day, they shared a love for the outdoors and enjoyed spending their days together. Ava was small but very strong for her size, and she spent her time working hard to gather food and build homes for her fellow ants. Giddy, on the other hand, was fast, energetic, and loved to play, hopping from one flower to the next without a care in the world. Every year, the creatures of the meadow held a grand race, and this year, like every other year, Giddy was determined to win. He had the longest legs and the fastest hops, and he never seemed to tire out. He was always full of energy and ready for any challenge that came his way. Ava, however, wasn't as fast. She was small and steady, always working diligently, without seeking fame or glory. It was the day before the big race when Giddy and Ava were having their usual conversation under a tree, the air warm and soft with the scent of wildflowers. "I'm going to win tomorrow, Ava. There's no doubt about it. I've never lost a race in my life," Giddy said with a wide, confident grin. His eyes sparkled as he imagined himself racing ahead, leaving everyone far behind. Ava looked at him with a gentle smile, her little antennae twitching. "You're very fast, Giddy. No doubt about that," she said kindly. "But the race is not just about speed. It's about persistence and not giving up, even when things get tough." Giddy laughed, his wings fluttering. "Oh, Ava, you worry too much. I've got speed, and that's all I need. Don't you want to win for once? You're always working so hard, but you never seem to take a break." Ava nodded. "I may not be as fast as you, but I believe in doing things the right way. I'll do my best tomorrow, just like I always do." Giddy rolled his eyes and winked at her. "Well, good luck, Ava. I hope you can keep up." The next day, the whole meadow gathered to watch the grand race. Animals from all over the meadow lined up along the starting line, excited to see who would win. There was Benny the rabbit, who was quick but not as fast as Giddy, and Rosie the mole, who was great at digging tunnels but not so much at running. Even Freddie the fox and Lily the deer had gathered to watch, eager to see the race. At the starting line, Giddy was bouncing up and down, full of energy, while Ava was calm and collected, standing tall with her small legs ready for the long journey ahead. The race official, a wise old owl named Oliver, called out to the crowd, "Gather round, gather round. Today's race will be one of great excitement. The finish line is at the top of the hill, and it's no easy climb. Are you ready to race?" The crowd cheered as the racers stood in position. "On your marks," shouted Oliver. Giddy's wings fluttered eagerly. Ava gave a small nod, her heart steady. "Get set," Oliver called. Giddy's legs tensed, ready to spring into action. Ava took a deep breath, preparing herself mentally. "Go!" Oliver shouted. And just like that, Giddy shot off like a lightning bolt, his legs flying through the air, leaving a trail of dust behind him. Ava, with her smaller steps, started at a much slower pace, but her eyes never wavered from the path ahead. The animals watching cheered as Giddy quickly surged ahead, his speed unmatched by anyone. He hopped over flowers and twigs, grinning from ear to ear. Ava, however, kept her steady pace, walking step by step with determination. She didn't rush or worry about the others. She just focused on the path ahead. Soon, the path began to curve through the thick woods. The trees provided shade, and the air was cool. Giddy, with his boundless energy, didn't seem to mind the twists and turns. But Ava was careful, choosing each step carefully, making sure she didn't trip or waste energy. As Giddy zipped around the trees, he suddenly hit a small rock and stumbled. He quickly regained his balance but lost a bit of time. Ava, however, continued moving steadily forward, keeping her rhythm and not letting the distractions slow her down. Hours passed, and Giddy was starting to feel tired. His legs, which had been so fast at the start, were starting to feel heavy. He could see the hill in the distance, but it felt so far away. He stopped for a moment, breathing heavily. "I'll just rest for a few minutes," he thought. "I'm so far ahead, I can afford to take a break." Ava, on the other hand, kept her steady pace. She wasn't in a hurry, but she was determined. She crossed the same bend in the path where Giddy had rested. She noticed Giddy resting under a tree, his eyes closed. For a moment, she considered stopping to check on him, but she didn't. Instead, she kept going, one step at a time. As Ava reached the edge of the meadow, she looked up at the hill. It seemed so tall, but she could see the finish line just beyond it. She knew she was close. Her heart was steady, and her legs, though small, felt strong. Meanwhile, Giddy, still napping under the tree, was dreaming of winning the race. He imagined himself being crowned the fastest grasshopper in the meadow. But as he rested, time was slipping away. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the meadow. Ava reached the base of the hill, where the path started to slope upward. She took a deep breath and began to climb, her legs moving steadily but surely. The climb was hard, and the incline was steep, but Ava never once thought of stopping. She pushed forward with each step, telling herself, "I can do this. I'll finish what I started." Suddenly, Giddy woke up with a start. He looked around and realized the sun was setting, and the hill was getting closer. Panicked, he quickly jumped to his feet and started hopping furiously, trying to make up for the time he lost. He reached the base of the hill, but the climb was harder than he expected. His legs were tired, and his energy was running low. He tried to leap up the hill, but his jumps were not as high as they had been at the start. Ava, however, was almost at the top. Her small legs had carried her steadily, and she was now just a few feet from the finish line. The animals watching from below saw her and began to cheer. "Go, Ava! You can do it!" With one final push, Ava reached the top and crossed the finish line, just as the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon. The crowd erupted in cheers. "Ava wins! Ava wins!" they shouted. Giddy, who had just reached the top of the hill, arrived too late. He huffed and puffed, trying to catch his breath. He looked at Ava, who was smiling brightly. "You did it, Ava," Giddy said, surprised but happy. "I thought for sure I would win, but you were steady and never gave up. You deserve this victory." Ava smiled gently. "It wasn't about being fast, Giddy. It was about never giving up and doing my best." Giddy nodded, feeling proud of his friend. "I learned something important today. It's not always about who's the fastest. Sometimes, it's the steady ones who finish first." Ava smiled and gave him a little pat on the back. "You're fast, Giddy, and that's a wonderful gift. But remember, it's persistence and never giving up that make the real difference." And so, Ava the Ant and Giddy the Grasshopper proved that slow and steady really does win the race. And from that day forward, Giddy learned to balance his speed with patience, and Ava continued her steady path, teaching all the creatures of the meadow that determination and hard work always lead to success. It's not always about how fast you go, or how much you can do at once. What matters is persistence, steady progress, and the courage to keep going even when things seem tough. Slow and steady wins the race, but it's the effort and determination that matter the most.